Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, guys, welcome back to our podcast. And so today in this podcast, we will going to talk about the Argonautica. And before we start our podcast, let me introduce ourselves. And the first is me. My name is Davina Alfaretha with student number 123 231 and 232. And my friends, maybe Devina first.
Hi, it's me. Davina Calysta Angelica and Mars New 187 and next.
And my name is Naufal Maulana with one student number 123221173.
Okay, thank you guys for the introduction. And now we are going to diving into the classical currents, and we will diving into the one of the great Hellenistic epics, which is the Apollonicus of Rhodes Argonautica. It's the ultimate quest story and pretending modern fantasy, and its influence its heart.
It's a fascinating text, often overshadowed by Homer, but Apollonius was doing something innovative. He wasn't just retelling the story of Jason and the Golden Fleece, he was dissecting the epic form itself.
And the story is epic in scope, Jackson tackling the greatest heroes of Greece, sailing to the ends of the novel, and facing dragons and scolesses. It's the scores for so many myths we know.
Exactly, and today we are not just summarizing the plot, but we are exploring its legacy and significance, looking at how Apollonius shapes literature, culture, and even our understanding of ancient heroism. And so maybe Alif, maybe let's start with the basics of the literary significance.
Alright, so the Argonautica is often called a revolt and refinement of epic poetry. Apollonius wrote in the shadow of Homer, but he didn't just copy, he refined the genre. Homer's epics are long, meandering, and full of fast, divine interference. Apollonius' poem is shorter, 4 books instead of 24, and it's actually much more focused on this certain story.
So, like God's interfering contextually and more focused narrative.
Precisely. He emphasized pathos and literary craftsmanship, using exquisite description and highly policed verse. He was a product of the Alexandrian intellectual environment, prioritizing precision and erudition. It set a new standard for a more self-conscious and scholarly literary tradition.
That sounds like a shift in focus from the grand external battles to the internal struggle of the characters.
It is. I think this is where he truly innovates, especially with media. Apollonius essentially pioneers the psychological novel within the epic framework. His depiction of Medea falling in love with Jason, the internal conflict, confusion, the overwhelming passion, is one of the earliest and probably the best and detailed psychological portraits in Western literature.
It's so compelling. It contains the traditional advice progress top to show a young woman torn between love, family, and duty. That emotional truth must have influenced later writers immensely.
Yeah, absolutely. Virgil, especially the complex character development and the detailed emotional landscapes of the Argonautica are direct precursors to the tragic love of Dido and Aeneas in the Aeneid. Apollonius essentially laid the groundwork for the kind of intense and passionate and doomed romantic portrait.
Okay, let's pivot to the thematic traits and the Devina. The heroic journey is central, but Apollonius seems to complicate the idea of heroism itself. What's going on her?
Apollonius Jason is not Homer's Achilles or Odysseus. He's a much more diminished hero. The poem often explores the diminution of heroism. Jason isn't the hyper-competent superhuman way, or is often indecisive, uh, relying on his true strengths, the ingenious and often frankly on mathematics.
It reflects the changing times. The Hellenistic age was moving away from the ideals of the archaic warrior aristocracy. Apollonius presents a more human, flawed, and relatable hero, suitable for an age of philosophical doubt and intellectualism.
Right. It leads us into the demise of reflection and free will. The poem context with juxtaposes the fate of destiny of the squads with the individual moral choice made by Jason and Medea. They grapple with the consequences of their action, exploring the nature of duty, and betrayal.
Okay, so it becomes deeply psychological and ethical journey, not the not a just a physical one, and that leads to the unsettling moral and ethical vacuum that's the poem explores.
Exactly, the Argonauts performed its both heroic and profoundly problematic kidnapping, deceit, murder. The text rarely offers simple moral judgment. Instead, it presents complex broadcaster operating in a world where traditional ethics are uncertain.
So it's a far cry from the clear moral compass of Homer. Apollonius uses the quest as a vehicle to examine the cost of ambition, love, and power, leaving the audience to wrestle with the ambiguous outcomes.
Let's move to the practical and lasting effects of this work is its educational literary influence and Alif, how did the Apollonius become a standard?
I think the Argonautica has been a cornerstone for academic study and critical interpretation since antiquity. Its structure, meter, and meticulous detail made it a scholarly standard in Hellenistic literary circles. It's often used as a source for understanding Greek mythology, geography, and earlier epic poetry.
It also became a blueprint for politics, imitation, and adaptation, right? Beyond video, it influencing later Roman books like Tertullus and Ovid, who drew heavily on the mediation narrative for their outworks, particularly dealing with the myth of dreaded consuming love.
Yeah, and it also established conventions that carried through medieval Romance and Renaissance literature. The detailed descriptions, the focus on the journey of a collective group of heroes, and the blend of myth and romance. These elements carved the way for modern adventure narratives.
And on the level of mythology and pedagogy itself, Devina, how did the Apollonius secure the Argonautica as a definitive version of the myth?
Apollonius systematics and gave structure to the sprawling legends of the Argonauts. He wasn't inventing the myth, he was synthesizing various oral and written tradition into one cohesive epic narrative. This detailed consolidated account became the fiction that subsequent Greek and Roman authors wrote really like upon.
All right. So his work became a pedagogical touchstone. If you wanted to teach Greek mythology, you turned to Apollonius for the story of Jason, because his version was meticulously researched and beautifully composed.
And to wrap up, let's look at the broader human and cultural impact. This poem clearly influenced the way the Romans viewed their own origins and literary heritage.
Absolutely, the Argonautica perfect a key model for the Roman use and glorification of Greek mythology by adapting and imitating Apollonius. Roman authors could tap into Greek literary tradition to validate and enrich their own developing total.
So Virgil's Aeneid is the ultimate example. It takes the quest structure, the complex hero, and the psychological focus from Apollonius to create a Roman founding epic. These cemented Apollonius' poem as a crucible for the Greco-Latin literary standards.
So ultimately, the Argonautica is much more than a golden flash. It's a it's a crucial literary hint and a bridge between the Homeric tradition and the later Roman and European epic forms. It it taught readers how to do psychological depth and structural sophistication within a grand narrative.
Yeah, that's right. So it's the epic that showed that a hero didn't have to be a god to be compelling. They just had to be human and have like soul, a human soul, and probably be something equal to that. Yeah.
And it gives media one of the most powerful and attractive female features in all of mythology.
Wow, a perfect note to end on. That brings us to the end of this episode of the classical currents. And thank you, Alif and Devina, for navigating the legacy of Apollonius Argonautica with me.
Oh, my pleasure. It's been an honor to actually talk in this podcast because I pretty much love the Greek story and its books because I sometimes make some stories inspired from the Greek mythology itself because some of my original characters for my novelette involves Greek mythology.
Okay, thank you, Alif, and thank you also, Davina. And so that's all our podcast for this episode for the Argonautic Q. And thank you so much, guys. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.